A struggle to keep order against the natural forces of the world, the strong against the weak. In the real world, outside of the commercial in our heads, people get whacked with a belt.
Anthony Bourdain had no shortage of strong opinions. He could praise a bowl of noodles on a plastic stool in Hanoi with the same reverence he gave a Michelin-starred plate in Paris. And he could rip apart a celebrity chef with the kind of bite sharper than any knife in his kitchen.
I did not give Food Network the show they wanted. Their greatest fear is that they will not be in the television industry next year. That they'll say something or do something or make a decision that will be so unpopular that they will lose their gig. I don't have that fear.
But when it came to movies, Bourdain wasn't often sentimental. He wasn't one to fawn over food films because in his view, Hollywood had almost always got the restaurant world completely wrong. The kitchens were too clean, the chefs too glamorous, the tension too scripted, but then Pixar came along in 2007 with an animated rat that wanted nothing more than to cook in the city of lights. And suddenly Bourdain, the man who prided himself on never sugarcoating anything, was stunned. To him, Ratatouille wasn't just a charming children's film. It was, in his words, the best food movie ever made.
What's your,
Oh my God.
You okay, man?
Yeah, I'm fine, but oh my God.
Whoa.
Scraped myself, but I'm okay.
Did you save that beer?
Yeah, I saved
You preserved the beer. This is exactly where I've wanted to be since I set
Street food, beautiful. Night market.
To understand why this declaration carried so much weight, you have to know Bourdain's relationship with food, kitchens, and the sheer brutality of the restaurant business. Before Kitchen Confidential blew the doors open on his career, Bourdain had spent decades toiling in kitchens, sweating over burners, inhaling cigarette smoke between orders, and living the unglamorous grind of restaurant life. He knew what burns on the forearms felt like, the scars that never really faded. He knew the clatter of pans, the frantic ballet of cooks trying to plate dishes under pressure, and the strange mix of camaraderie and chaos that defined the back of house.
Perché deve essere aggressivo? Non ho capito perché. Sì, nel modo di Scusami, noi stiamo lavorando. Vabbè, non è un coglione perché stiamo lavorando, è il nostro lavoro, è un'altra cosa.
I wrote an obnoxious book and that somehow turned into a TV show and I started traveling and I never looked back. To me, I'd much rather not make TV at all or make even unsuccessful TV than make competent television. I detest competent, workmanlike storytelling.
Suddenly, there's a dead sea creature sinking slowly to the seabed in front of me. Are they kidding me? I'm thinking, can this be happening? Splash, there's another one. Another rigor mortis, half-frozen freaking octopus. Splash, splash.
You know, that dead octopus started hitting the water around me. My sense of rage and self-disgust. And I'm not going to say I had a mental or nervous breakdown, but I came close. It was a dark place, dark, very dark, low moment.
Hollywood usually sanitized all of that, giving audiences shiny counters and chefs who looked like they had just stepped out of a spa. But when Bourdain watched Ratatouille, he saw something that no other food movie had captured before: authenticity. He praised the film for the tiny details, the things most viewers might not even notice, but that every real cook would recognize immediately. The animators had given the line cooks pink burn marks on their arms, the kind you earn from leaning too close to a hot oven or brushing against a sizzling pan. The producers had built character bios for even the background chefs, giving them stories and quirks that reflected the diversity and dysfunction of any real kitchen brigade. The chaos of the prep line, the intensity of service, the way chefs reacted to dishes being tasted. Pixar had somehow managed to get all of it right, and Bourdain loved it for that. Of course, Ratatouille was more than just an accurate depiction of a kitchen. It was also a love letter to food itself, and Bourdain, more than anyone, understood that food was never just about eating. It was about culture, memory, passion, and yes, sometimes even art. When Anton Ego, the impossibly intimidating food critic in the movie, takes a bite of Remy's Ratatouille and is instantly transported back to his childhood, Bourdain described it as a punch in the chest.
A 10-year-old Tony ate his first oyster, and his world was never the same.
That I was the sort of kid who, if you dared me to eat something squishy, I'd eat it. You know, I'd been in the business for over 25 years at that point. I was in my 40s. There's nothing more foolish than a person who thinks they can make a living writing. So I had a pretty minimal expectation when I started to write this article, intending it for a free paper called the New York Press. I figured their standards were low enough. Editor said, yeah, we'll run it. It's great. We'll give you $100. I was thrilled. They said they'd take it, and then week after week after week, I kept getting bumped. So in a moment of drunken hubris, I called them up and said, screw you. I'm taking the article back. And I sent it to the New Yorker unsolicited. Weeks later, I get a call in the kitchen. It's David Remnick, and it says he's going to print the article. 2 days after it came out, it was a news story.
I was in a cranky mood after my last restaurant closed and felt no reason not to tell the truth about a business I both love and have mixed emotions about.
He said it was literally breathtaking because it captured something so profound. The way a single dish can collapse time. The way a flavor can open up a flood of memory. That moment, he believed, was as true to the experience of food as anything ever put on film. And then there was the irony. Hollywood, which had failed countless times to make a decent restaurant movie, had finally succeeded with an animated rat. Bourdain thought it was almost poetic. It's a measure of how deficient Hollywood has been in making an accurate restaurant food-based film that far and away the best was about an animated rat. He joked in an interview, but beneath the humor was a genuine admiration. Pixar had done what live-action films with all their budgets and food consultants hadn't managed. They captured the passion, the insanity, and the devotion that makes people dedicate their lives to kitchens. What made his endorsement even sweeter was that Bourdain had a small connection to the movie itself. In its early development stages, he had offered some input, though he later admitted his contribution was so tiny it hardly mattered. Still, his name appeared in the credits with a thank you, and he was hugely and disproportionately proud of it. For a man who built his career on exposing the ugly truths of kitchen life, being tied to a movie that celebrated its beauty and did so without sugarcoating was something he cherished. It's worth noting that Bourdain wasn't usually so generous with his compliments. He had a disdain for food trends.
This book that you did, Kitchen Confidential, big bestseller. It made a big splash because you revealed a lot of things about restaurants. You told people don't buy fish in a restaurant on a Monday because that fish has been sitting around for a while. You don't want to be eating mussels.
Since the book came out, it's been nothing but free liquor and free food since that time. Chefs kind of dig the book.
The average person, when they go out to dinner, eats about a quarter stick of butter and doesn't know it.
By the time you leave the restaurant, you've probably eaten about a stick plus. Sure.
A stick plus.
Yeah.
If I walk in a room where everybody agrees with me, I find that frightening and dismaying and boring as
You'd think cooks and chefs would be angry with me after this book, too. You know, it's been nothing.
Some have to be mad at you because you basically said, look out for restaurants. You're not necessarily getting what you think you're getting.
Some people were horrified in Kitchen Confidential at the dismissive way I talked about people who order egg white omelets or, vegetarians.
For pretentious cooking, for the endless parade of celebrity chefs trying to sell a glossy image of culinary life. He once said he wanted the pumpkin spice craze drowned in its own blood, and he routinely mocked juice cleanses, gluten-free fads for those without medical need, and the concept of bro food. His palate was adventurous, yes, but his philosophy was rooted in honesty, and honesty was exactly what he saw in Ratatouille. When he called it the best food movie ever made, he wasn't just praising the animation or the storytelling. He was acknowledging that Pixar had pulled off something almost impossible. They had captured the essence of what it meant to love food, not just the pretty parts, but the burns, the sweat, the anxiety, and the obsession. They had shown how food could be memory, love, and expression all at once. And coming from Anthony Bourdain, the man who built his reputation on calling bullshit when he saw it, that was the highest praise imaginable. In a way, Ratatouille and Bourdain were kindred spirits.
There we are in the very simple country home of Uncle Hi and his extended family. He's got a few kids in there playing electric guitar, noodling away on an ancient Fender Mustang.
Be open to experience, be willing to try new things, don't have a rigid plan, don't be afraid to wander, don't be afraid to eat a bad meal. If you don't risk the bad meal, you'll never get the magical one.
One plate of food would be a good day for any of them. And here, I'm painfully aware, I'm eating 3.
The movie told the story of an unlikely chef, a rat of all things, who dared to chase a dream that society told him was ridiculous. Bourdain, too, had been an unlikely voice in the food world. He wasn't a celebrity chef with a string of Michelin stars. He was a line cook who stumbled into fame because he wrote honestly about the underbelly of restaurant life. He turned his experiences into stories that resonated with millions, not because they were glamorous, but because they were raw and real. Just like Remy, he believed that passion mattered more than pedigree, and that anyone who truly loved food deserved a place at the table. Even now, years after his passing in 2018, Bourdain's praise of Ratatouille feels fitting. It's a reminder that authenticity matters, that the details matter, and that food is about more than what's on the plate. It's about who we are, where we come from, and the stories we carry with us. And if an animated rat can remind us of that truth, maybe it really does deserve the title of the best food movie ever made.